This is my 2003 Jeep Wrangler TJ. It's seen some abuse and thousands of miles of daily driver duty. Lately, I haven't had enough projects to work on. Sorry, drift car, snowmobile, other snowmobile, three-wheeler. So today, we're going to be doing a full, in-depth diagnosis of everything wrong with it in an effort to show you how to properly check every single component on a Jeep Wrangler. I'm going to start with filling it up with this entire oil jug since it's probably leaked out all of it in the last 6 months. And the battery's dead. And now it's not dead. So time to pull it in the garage and see how bad this thing actually is. Time to do a quick walkover of it to look for rust, uh, like this fender spot, all of this. These in this fender well here, these frame rails are very bad for rotting out as salt and corrosion piles up in there. You also want to park it in the same spot for a while to see if it has any leaks. Now for the engine bay, starting with the coolant and washer fluid, and then going to the other side to look at the oil level. The dipstick is off to the left there, I don't have one. And I'll look around in general to see if there's anything out of the ordinary, for example a loose belt, belt wear, or anything like that. These airboxes are notorious for just having broken clips. This one is a little rough. Look for janky wiring like this, as being it's a Jeep, it's going to be notorious for having some high school student level wiring. Now onto the battery terminals. These ones are a little rough and will be needing replacement. I'll do a full video on how to replace these and do them the proper way. This is where my dipstick would go, if I had one. Over here, back on the driver's side, we have the brake master cylinder, which you can open up and take a look at the quality of brake fluid that is in the reservoir as well as the level. Now, if your Jeep has an Elite transmission, you're going to have your clutch master cylinder here, which uses the same fluid as your brake master cylinder, just straight brake fluid. For those who unfortunately have an automatic transmission, you'll find the dipstick on the left of the engine. Don't forget your rubber. Next, moving on to the power steering pump. This uses both automatic transmission fluid or just actual power steering fluid. Now for a quick check in the radiator to see what the coolant is looking like in there. Now just looking inside the radiator for bent fins or other debris. Now for check all the lights and turn signals. I would hope that this is pretty self-explanatory. Onto the suspension now. Looking here at the front axle for the U-joints, tie rod, ball joints, springs and shocks, as well as the control arms. Repeat for the other side, of course. This is the steering box I'm looking at and its major components. Now looking at the entire steering linkage for anything obvious, worn rubber bushings in the steering shock and worn rubber bushings on the joint themselves. While I'm here, gonna look underneath the engine for oil leaks. Uh, you could probably see I got some leaks. Underneath the rear now, it's similar to the front, except it doesn't have ball joints or steering linkage. This Jeep has adjustable upper control arms, hence the grease everywhere. But for stock control arms, look at the bushings in the pocket where the lower arm mounts to the frame. These are bad for collecting salt and rotting holes inside. Take a look at the exhaust while you're under here, as well as the floor. If you've driven in any sort of northern states or Canada, these will pull salt and get holes in it, and then you have holes in your floor. Just gonna finger my first rust hole here on the floor for good measure. Here's the back of the transfer case. This one has a slip yoke eliminator. That's why it may look different than the one you have. If you have a lifted Jeep, that is a requirement. Now onto the parking brake cables. If your parking brake doesn't work, there's a pretty good chance that these just need to be adjusted. Now for a proper test of the suspension, starting with a wiggle test. All you need to do is just wiggle the steering wheel while it's on the ground. You're going to look for play in these joints here. Now I'm going to jack it up to check the wheel bearings, tie rods, and ball joints. Doing so, we're going to pry the underside of the tire to look for ball joint wear. We're going to shake the tires from the side to look for tie rod wear, and then we'll do it in an X pattern to look for wheel bearing wear. I'm checking the front drive shaft U-joints now, just rotating it back and forth. Now to check the front differential fluid, you're going to need a ratchet and an Allen key to put inside the fill hole to check the level and condition of the fluid so that way you don't stick your finger in there. This fill plug is also a magnet, so take a look for shavings in there, or not, it's up to you. Now to repeat the process for the rear differential. Road test time. Here you're looking for anything that you missed during your look over it. See how the brakes feel, how it shifts, how it steers. Try to run over bumps with one wheel, as that will show death wobble if it has it. But make sure you do it at a safe speed when no one's around so you don't end up running off the road. Feel for vibrations in the seat, steering wheel, shifter. Just listen to weird noises in general. And make sure you note them down so you can research the problem further on forums or Reddit. Or go back for another look over. Here I was chasing a steering wheel vibration, and it turns out that while the front lead joint looked fine, all the needle bearings were gone. So after a quick replacement of that, it went to driving like a Jeep, for better or worse. Now this is the end of the video. If you liked it, comment or whatever you do when you like videos. If you didn't like it, make sure to write in all caps what I did wrong so that way I can take in your constructive criticism and do nothing about it.